All right, we're going. Hey, everybody. Sorry for that. I made a mistake. I kind of hit the button a little early. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That works.
It's a new computer, and I haven't hooked up the mouse pad to it yet. I got a brand new computer I picked up, a laptop.
Nice.
Yeah, it's about time I grew up.
Is it Apple or a PC?
It is a PC. It is a touch screen, though, which I
Ooh.
thought would be cool for this because it's a big 15-inch screen that I can get my greasy fingers and ruin the screen pretty faster, you know.
I'll tell you, I bought an Apple, what is this, iMac Pro or whatever, I don't even know, but bought this like 4 years ago. Never had a problem with it ever. I will never buy another PC. Apple
Yeah.
all the way.
Yeah, I loved my Apple, which is sitting over here, which I used
The
to
iPhone
use.
too.
No, I have a Droid.
The problem with this Apple I had is it's 10 years old, and they won't upgrade it anymore.
Oh,
They won't put the new saying your system can't handle it. This has 256 and whatever all that shit is. Anyway, great seeing everybody here. First, welcome to Golden Guys. It's Tuesday night. We are just like the Golden Girls without all the sex appeal, but a lot more Golden Age comics and toys and other things. We're here to talk about vintage, which is what we define ourselves as, vintage people as well. We're not old, we're vintage. We are definitely from the last century, so we'll start with that as well. I have seen some great posts out there by a bunch of guys. I want one shout out first to Simon Comics. He got him. Do you see the All Winners 3 he picked up?
yeah.
Beautiful, hard to find. It's one of those that when you see somebody get, you're like, ah, because it's not the rarest. It's just a hard one to find ever. You know,
Yeah, I don't see too many of them.
I don't see many of them trade hands either. Usually it's a buy snag and I'm never getting rid of it scenario. And he was gracious enough to open up and show all the pages on the inside, and it looked really nice. I mean, it looked really nice inside interiors. I mean, some pen marks and some signatures by some lady named Dorothy.
Yeah.
But other than that, the Submariner page looked really good. The Destroyer page, bright colors on all that stuff. And if you don't know, that book is I probably All Winners 3 would be early 42. Considering All Winners was it was a monthly at the time. So, well, great having everybody here. Let me introduce everybody real quick. DS, how we doing, my friend?
I'm great. Yeah, everything is going good. I've been looking forward to the upcoming Heritage Signature auction.
Same here.
Loaded with just crazy stuff as usual. And so, yeah, I'm kind of in a holding pattern because I've done a lot early this year, and I'm sort of just in a little bit of a holding pattern. But I'm looking forward to later in the year some of these bigger auctions coming up. Hopefully I can grab something.
Sounds good. Knights. We're going to talk about that auction too, by the way.
I've had better days than today, but I'm feeling better already talking to you guys.
There you go. That's what we're here for.
Awesome.
You promised to cheer me up, so
Yeah, I got a book here definitely to cheer you up.
I have something here that you're gonna laugh at because it's what I do. But one of the things is, I'm DS to jump on that signature auction. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually more excited about this signature auction than I was the last one.
Yeah.
This has a lot more of what I consider.
keep track of there's so many goddamn auctions all the time now.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a signature, there's going to be other stuff, but it's the highlights. Is not necessarily. It's what the rare books, the stuff I don't see, I'm seeing in this auction coming up. Sometimes, I mean, I think the flair of the first auction was the highest grade ever in this condition. The highest grade book ever of this. While that's the case of a lot of these books too, some of these books I haven't seen come up for auction in a long time. And I think that's part of the mystique about this is that there's things in this auction that I haven't seen in a while that I'm very interested in, I should say. I'm not going to tell you which ones, but just go through them and you'll figure it out.
Yeah, we can take a look through that. I think they basically put all
the lots out there.
The big stuff at the front because you can't sort by highest bid. There's no bids yet, but
Right.
when you just open up that signature auction, I think the eye-catching stuff is at the front.
Let me see if I can bring that up for
You
later.
can just open it up, and as you scroll down, you'd see like ballers right off the bat of good stuff. And there's two in particular that I absolutely love. I probably won't get either one, obviously, but I don't know. They're both books that are on my list. One especially, you guys will know, but
No, I wanted to shout out Lord Tat, man, in the chat, because we've been chatting up on Instagram, and I think he's converted to Golden Age collector, or at least maybe soon.
Nice.
So
Wish I had more for you here.
So we apologize in advance, Lord Tatman, for you going broke. Just saying now.
Yeah, we have I'm going to start bringing in the stuff that I've kind of kept this room clean because I'm painting it again, so I want to keep all the good stuff out of it. I just want to make it a certain way, just normal mundane paint. That's not the issue. The issue, I think, is more or less just needs stuff to be done. But shout out to you in the chat. Welcome to the Golden Age. Remember, we're not responsible for anything you do. But very looking forward to,
con. It's like con season now, right? I mean, Kavi was at New York.
Yeah. There was a con there was Indiana had a con 2 weeks ago. Houston, Texas, I think had one this weekend. People were talking about.
The books were priced very high.
Well, I mean, that's how cons are always. I feel like, yeah, I think people, once we start getting back into cons, you're going to hear a lot of people complain about the prices. And I'm already laughing about it because, number one, has anybody looked at the market in the last year? Okay, so the prices are sky high and everything. And con prices are always high anyway. And you can wheel and deal, but I mean, that's like an event. If you're there and it's in front of you, you're willing to pay a little more. And that's, the dealers have a lot more expenses at a con than if they're just doing an IG claim sale or something, or their website. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But
Javi's no stranger to cons, so
no.
He seemed a little alarmed by maybe it's one of the first ones back. Maybe they're just feeling out the water.
Yeah, well, it's bound to go down because you're going to have, a lot of dealers have been picking up books and inventory, and you're going to see loads of books on the wall at cons, and you're going to see a lot of the same book, especially like Silver and Bronze Age keys. And, there's going to be, I think it's going to be a buyer's market sooner rather than later at cons for some of the big keys, because there's going to be so many of them. I mean, any key you want, there's going to be double-digit copies at every con. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, I'm looking forward to Pulp Fest.
Cody Wise says there's Torpedo Con this Friday for that.
Right.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to that one.
A local con here that a couple of the Midwest guys went to, Fountain City. Which is Kansas Con, but Planet Comic Con is coming up in August, and it's the same weekend as Pulp Fest. And I'll be heading to Pulp Fest as a vendor, so let's keep that seller's market going.
Speaking of Pulp Fest, did you guys watch the Tales from the Flip Side interview with Matt Nelson?
I did.
I have it on my to watch tonight. Actually,
and he pretty much, unless I was dreaming, but he pretty much confirmed that they're gonna do Pulps.
Yeah, it sounded like the grading of Pulps is imminent. I think they're well underway. It's not like they're just brainstorming. It sounded to me like they're way past the brainstorming stage. And so I think they're well into the process and committed to doing it. And I asked a very specific question in that chat, which they did forward to him, and he answered, was about trimming, if that was going to yield a restored label on Pulps, and he said no. And for those who don't know, trimming on pulps, there's overhang on every pulp, and it breaks and it bends, and so a lot of pulps are trimmed.
You kept that.
And I think the trimming is sort of like tape on Golden Age books is like trimming on pulps. So they said that's not going to count as restoration, but I'm sure they'll note it on the label. So, they're already well into coming up with what they're going to do with some of the grading situations. So, yeah, I think it should be sooner rather than later. I hope that'll change the whole market on those.
Yeah. We were discussing it about now. Full disclosure, I was discussing it a month ago with people, including the grading company, and when I had my opinion on certain things, it was My concern is items cut out in the middle. How will they know? Will they be going page by page? In particular, 90% of the pulps have coupons in them for the subscriptions that they did. And back then, they used to cut them out. And I will tell you that many pulps I've come across, not just this year, but in my years in past, I've always looked at those second to last pages and those middle 7 pages there. I just put them as qualified. And if they put them as qualified, you'll see quite a bit of qualified pulps. And don't be surprised. It's not going to be the same thing. Pulps are very much as I can never give anybody credit to this more than DS when he says Golden Age has become an art form. The true art form of the pulp for collecting wise is the cover. No question asked.
Aren't they going to take? I mean, that would take them forever to count this.
Right, because we're talking. There are some pulps that are 256 pages. For example, Amazing Stories Quarterlies from the early 1947. Astounding had some that were. I mean, the average one is 200 some odd pages. So it will. And if you're worried about them touching the book, then understand that. As good as I am at some of these pulps and stuff like that, there are pulps I look at, I won't touch to open because I'm like, yeah, that cover's hanging on by, and if they recognize glue on the outside, glue on the inside cover is standard because they glued them. So that's one of those things. So anyway, it's very interesting.
Immediately went on eBay.
Somebody else brought it up this week because I did get a call and a little bit. We had a brief discussion. My opinion on what I will submit to be the first ones of my collection of the collection, I should say. That'll be in there, and they'll be interesting ones. I promise.
I immediately went on eBay and looked for that one awesome shadow pulp, and of course,
Creeping Death.
Because
I'll tell you,
it's going to skyrocket.
You can find pulps on eBay. I still look, but I don't really buy them anymore. But the best place to find pulps, I feel like online, there's a lot of bookstores, used bookstores or antique bookstores.
Books or something like that.
Yeah, bookstores around the country will have little websites, and they sell pulps. Pulps fit into the used bookstores type market a lot. And there's some book dealers out there with websites that have tons and tons of pulps, and I used to go through and I bought off some of them when I was buying pulps. I dabbled in that for a minute.
Mm-hmm. One of the ones I was going that you guys haven't seen. This is, I mean, it's a great condition book from the era, 1932.
I wonder what's going to change in the pulp market, because right now I'm not that familiar with it, but I'm sure there's a hierarchy. But I would guess some of that's going to
change items
once CGC. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of the pulp collectors that I've been talking with and we've been discussing is rarity and scarcity or availability matters a lot. As condition obviously is one, and then it's not that different than anything else. It's really scarcity. And if Tim Bookery says something scarce, a lot of people take their words for it. And I've got 2 that are considered very scarce. I have one that's considered extremely rare, and it's one of those that you say, okay, I understand that, and you expect the price of it to skyrocket. While on Heritage, on their auctions, have done it for pulps what nobody else has done, and I, didn't back down on like this book or The Woman in the Wood, this one, which is considered a scarce item here. These are in the VG Plus fine minus grade, and this is from 1928. I mean,
yeah, that's cool.
Predates Action 1 by 10 years for all you collectors. But anyway, we're going to talk about this year. We're going to talk about Heritage. I'm ready to bring that stuff up, and if I figure out a way to do their features.
You want to do some pickups?
Yes, let's do some pickups. Let's pick up Mike with some pickups.
Yeah.
Okay, so first things first, one of my other hobbies I do is vinyl records. Big fan of vinyl. Have a lot of blues records, jazz, and rock. Your rock. So a while back, I said I found the rare picture disc of Dead Ringer. This is Bernie Wrightson Meatloaf of Dead Ringer. This is a picture disc, and there's always been a sister. It's available out there when you find it. When you find one in the wild that's in great condition, you're flirting with disaster, but it's not that album. This is the first time anybody saw the Death Dealer, and there it is. My Molly Hatchet. Yep. This is the debut album of a great Southern rock band in the way of, let's say, Leonard Skinner and 38 Special. This is probably the in-between of the three. We used to call it redneck rock. No offense anyway. That's what we used to call it when we were growing up. But here it is. I'll show it on the big screen. The Death Dealer was a painting he did, and before it hit the comic back in, or anything else in the 80s, this is where you saw it.
Or on the side of a van.
Or on the side of a van.
Man, it's such an awesome illustration, awesome painting.
And it's got the little Frazetta thing. And this is a really good, for 1978, this, it doesn't have the old record markings in the back. It actually has it's still in its sealed inside. It's never been played.
That record came out in 78?
78, yeah.
Oh, wow. Because I
painting
saw
was done in 73.
73, yeah.
Well, the painting was done in 73. He did it in 73.
He just sat it there, I guess.
And when it's in, Death Dealer, which is, the comic, Image did that comic. This is some Molly Hatchet right there. A little flirting with disaster for everybody.
Now, that would be an expensive original art piece.
Yeah, that would be a couple.
I would say that would be. I say that would rival anything that has sold in the Golden Age comic market by far.
Yeah,
that's considering that.
Maybe more.
I would say closer to 5, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can go
Death Dealer for that. If you have the original Death Dealer, which is one of Frank's top 5, probably top 3 most recognizable by the collecting of the art market and the fact that it's so badass. But the colors on it are great. I've seen people with, I've seen a few out there that this goes orange and you don't really get a chance to see the gold.
So when is CGC going to grade these?
I don't know. If CGC are going to grade the Molly Hatchet.
There
you go. The picture disc, this is just Wrightson, by the way. I meant to say that this was Wrightson did that one. And that's the British one. I have the other one as well. So
you have records too, DS?
No, I don't collect records. I looked into it. I always look into other collectible markets, and I've looked into records, and it didn't seem like the stuff that I would be drawn to was really that valuable. Like, the Led Zeppelin, the Pink Floyd, Fish, Tool, the stuff I listen to, I would want to collect the stuff I listen to, and it didn't look like that was real valuable. And the real rare stuff is stuff that I just would not personally be into. And I don't like to invest or collect in stuff that I don't have a personal connection to. And it seemed like the stuff I would like a lot of 80s stuff too. It didn't seem like there was really much value in it. So yeah, it's super cool, but I don't have a record player and it's not worth that much that I don't feel the need to run out and get it.
Pretty sure some original Pink Floyds and Led Zeppelins are pretty pricey.
Yeah, I have an original.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they are. I looked into it. The ones I was looking for didn't seem like the original first printings of them were worth that much. But, I didn't go deep into it. I'm sure there's some variations.
Kind of a pain, to be honest. Some of the figuring it out. It's a lot of legwork, and you got to look at a lot of trickery. I would almost welcome a grading company.
I have the original Led Zeppelin 2 in really nice condition. Really, really nice. And I've got the new 180-gram one. Which one do I play? The 180-gram. The other one just sits in its plastic sleeve and sits with the rest of them. There are some that do go for a lot. I know a guy just paid for an original sealed, never opened, and Justice for All by Metallica, $250. So,
Oh, that's nothing.
right.
That's going to be worth a lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean, he bought it off the guy today.
The cool thing is they look so awesome because they're big. You know, like I'd love to get. I've been meaning to. I'm putting it off, and I'm probably, you know, by the time I get around to it, it'll be like ridiculously priced. But you know, I want some like Iron Maiden. They had some awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
The Made in Japan live album,
Yeah.
original sealed, is a fortune. More than Killers, more than Seventh Son, more than Number of the Beast. It's always been the Made in Japan original EP, if you could find it with the Japanese writing on it.
Yeah, one of my favorite album covers. If I were collecting albums, I would go find that Dio Holy Diver album, because the cover on that is so awesome. And, you know, I would probably look for this one. I think is valuable and really tough to find, is that Misfits album.
That's
What is it? What is it called? Die,
My Darling.
Yeah, with the Chamber of Chills 19 on it. I think that's pretty tough to find. I would probably go after that, obviously. But,
yeah, I've looked for that in every.
Same thing with that. It's like there's like 20 versions of it. It's just a real pain.
Yeah, in September, the end of September this year, heading to a vinyl collection convention.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I have a nice collection as it is, and I listen to it constantly. I have a nice system that I enjoy, and I use it daily, so it's not like it's something I don't do.
I've been to Japanese anime and these shows, like albums that I listen to with my daughter, but it's a real pain. Shipping this stuff sucks.
Yeah, this guy I was talking to today, he wants to sell his thing to a guy in Russia, and it's just he goes to ship it to him.
Yeah,
it's just too much of a pain in the neck. So, DS, you're up next. I know you've got something there.
Yeah, I pulled a couple of books that I got recently. I don't know if I showed this one already, so if I did, whatever, we'll look at it again. I don't know if we had a show when this came in, but I picked up this Flame 6.
Love that.
I don't know if I showed it on this show or not, but this is a pretty rare book, and there's only 3 higher graded than this. It's one of those weird, rare Golden Age where all of them are low grade, basically. But I couldn't pass it up because the colors are just too good on this thing.
You still have it.
Yeah, this one's not going to go anywhere real quick. You know, this is one I'll hold on to longer than most. But yeah, so
nice colors.
I love that book.
Yeah, I mean, you see the reds, the orange, the purple, the green. It's all the way it's supposed to look. So really, really beautiful copy here. You know, I saw this, and how do you value that? I figure what I paid. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good price for a book like this that you never see. That's badass. So I bought it. Who knows what it's worth, but I think it's definitely worth what I paid. So I was real happy to get that.
I mean, it's always worth to me. That book is. It kind of is. It's kind of what I've been having these conversations with people. Like, what is the Golden Age comic books worth? I'm like, it's really worth what the buyer's going to buy, and the seller will sell it for. Do you overpay? Yeah, maybe. Do you underpay? Yeah, you do. Or do you pay what you're comfortable with? That's the more important.
Yeah, and you know, with that Zip 22, that was a pretty good looking low grade. It's a 2.0 with some issues, but looks really good, and it's not restored. And that one was on eBay at a price that was a little higher than I thought, but he sent an offer out that was much lower than that, and I just jumped on it. And again, that's not something you can look up. You just sort of have to have a feel for it. And I feel like if you're going to just sort of wing it and pay and you're not 100%, at least if you get something super rare, it's a pretty good bet that you got a decent book, because it's not like there's going to be any other ones around.
It's a beautiful book.
I picked up this one. I know Mike appreciate that too.
Oh, yeah.
Foxhole one. Now, you discovered the original photo, didn't you?
Oh, good.
Well, I didn't discover it. I think it's known. People who know about this book know that Kirby took this image from a painting, and I did a little research and put together a little Instagram post, and you can go check out my Instagram. I just posted it maybe yesterday. And he based this on a painting by Joseph Hirsch in 1944, and that painting appeared in a book that basically had a bunch of paintings and photographs, and the point of the book was to highlight the heroes without guns. I think the book was called Men Without Guns, and it highlighted the combat medics and nurses and people that were out there in World War II on the battlefield helping mend the soldiers, basically. So a really good sort of tribute book to the people behind the soldiers, helping them out. Nice. And then that image appeared, also that painting appeared on a magazine owned by Martin Goodman, who is the founder of Marvel Comics, who Kirby obviously was close with. And that appeared on that in 1951, I think. And then Kirby took that painting and sort of embellished the whole scene around it on this book in 1954. And I think there's only 19 of these, and this is probably, by my estimation, the #1 Atom Age war book, I would say.
I'm not going to dispute that. It's
I mean, everybody puts it in the top. I would say this is the #1 Atom Age war book, and I think it tops out at 7.0. And I got this from our friend Jeff, Golden Age Guru, in his claim sale a couple weeks ago.
It's beautiful. Look at that. Thank you, Jeff, for and the soldier. He's got the Thompson machine gun right around his neck.
Yeah, and it was a pretty brutal scene. This is obviously the Normandy invasion in 1944, depicted here. And he's writing a letter to his mom. He's got the high visibility wrap. Kirby added a little blood onto the side of the wrap that's not present on the original painting by Hirsch. But aside from that, if you look at my Instagram, I have the two pictures side by side. Kirby really did almost an exact of that, but sort of in his own style. He embellished the holes and dents, or the dents on the helmet and the coloration, and he put that little smear of blood. But yeah, I don't know. Check it out on my Instagram if you want to see. But yeah, I'm really, really happy to get this. I remember when Jeff picked this up a while ago, and I was so jealous. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. I want that. And they put up in the claim sale, so I had to buy it.
Yeah, that looks pretty like it's. I mean, first of all, I know it's extremely tough to come by.
Yeah.
And I don't see that ever change hands. You know, we talked about that already. But
there's only one book I like a little better.
What's that?
If you want to show,
is it Bill Everett?
No.
Oh, there is a Bill Everett.
I have. Well, I mean, you might be talking about Battlefront 20. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right? Show that again.
But I think it's just down to preference at this point.
We talked about that.
They're both awesome.
That might have been my. That was on my list of my top 5 war covers right there. Both of them were, but that one, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was with Knights on this one. Mine edged out that one just because of the brutalness and the color contrast. One of the
something about just the graphic quality. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah, I love the colors on that. It's a very interesting color scheme on that.
I think, all like I don't know how many they did, but I believe at least there's 4, right?
4,
yeah, and they're all good, I think.
Yeah, they are all good.
Yeah.
There's the one was 3 where it's the
close-up
of the soldier's face, and it's got the camo striping.
Yeah,
real cool. Yeah, very striking. And really, #1 is not like the ones after it all. The ones after it all sort of have that similar bright color contrast scheme. #1 doesn't.
I know someone's gonna show them now or something, but it's not like I don't think I've ever seen. I mean, probably on the boards, but on Instagram, I don't think I've ever seen someone have all 4.
No, I've never seen that. And this Foxhole 1, there's people that have it. And I've hit at least 3 of those people up about their copy, and they don't want to move it.
Yeah. I'd say that one's definitely more sought after than this. But I remember you were trying to help me find one of these
for
a while, too.
I mean, I would definitely pick one of those up, too. But I knew you specifically really wanted that book. So every time I saw one, I forwarded it to you rather than go after it myself. And the Foxhole 1, though, that was all me. If I found one, I was getting it. So
there's still that one guy who, you'd ask, we'd be sending each other pictures of someone would post a picture of themselves walking through a con or something, and then like zero in, zoom in on like a wall, like 3 booths behind him.
Dude, I did that. So
Like-
there was a guy that had a Foxhole one, and I saw it. Somebody was at a con and posted a picture of their setup, but they're next to somebody else. And
Yeah.
I always zoom in on these con pics, and I looked at all the ones, and the guy next to him on his wall, I could see there was a Foxhole one back there in the distance. So I hit the dealer up that posted the picture. I was like, "Hey, who was that next to you?" And I wasn't able to get connected with them. The next con they were at together, I asked him and I was like, "Hey, who's that guy that had that Foxhole? Is he there with you?" And he got me his number, and I called the guy, and he said he had it, but it was already an arranged offer to sell it. Somebody was going to buy it. I was like, "Okay, well, I want to give me the backup if that falls through." It did fall through, and then the guy decided he wanted to keep it. So I was like, all right, well, if you change your mind, let me know. And I kept his text message on my phone forever, I could hit him back a couple times. And he didn't want to get rid of it anymore. And there's 2 guys on Instagram that have one that I'm hitting up, and they don't want to get rid of it either. And
sometimes when I feel like, because I was looking for a cap too for Ben Prime Time, and there was this one at the con here in Seattle a few years ago, and like, I swear, the more I pestered him, and I was like, yeah, but my friend, I'm talking to him on the phone, it was like this whole weird like middleman kind of thing, but like, then he ended up being like, I'm keeping it. It's almost like the more like weird interest in the book, sometimes dealers will be like, maybe I'll keep this.
Yeah, and I didn't ask Jeff, but I think I know what he paid for it because I talked to him when he was doing the purchase, but whatever, it was a while ago. But I almost feel like the price he put it up like late on Saturday night, like right before his claim sale was ending on that night. That was like 11:30 p.m. Eastern, so it was kind of late. And he put it up, and the price he was firm on. He wasn't taking offers, and I feel like it was almost I don't really want to sell it price, but I will. And I happened to be there, and yeah, I will take it for that price.
Nice.
Well, I mean, I paid up for it, but I feel like it's worth it for that book because, like I said, the time to buy something like that is when you see it. You can't be too patient on some of this stuff because some of it legit doesn't show up very often. I think Foxhole 1 is like that. That Flame 6 is another one. If you really want a Flame 6 and you see it, that's the one to get because you're never going to see that very often.
I think the last one that sold of a Flame 6 was Lewis bought.
Yeah, but he does. Yeah, I was hoping you would be here tonight to show them. But I showed him when I got it anyway.
Yeah. He says he's got something to do, but yeah, we the last time I saw our Flame 6 was the one he brought. He bought a raw copy, brought it to me in a restaurant, and said, "Look at this." I'm like, this is legitimate. Don't get rice and beans on it.
Yeah, and I'm sort of an opportunist. I don't have like a want list. I know what books I like, and sometimes I like that Flame 6. That wasn't on my radar, but when I saw it, how could I not get that? You know what I mean? That's right up my alley. It's rare. It's dark. It's old. It's just cool. I mean, if I'm not going to buy that, what am I doing in the hobby is sort of how I feel like it. Because that's exactly the type of book that I'm going after these days. And that checked every box on my list. So I had to get it.
Nice. Knights, did you have anything you wanted to show?
I got a couple international Golden Age.
Sure. I like that.
Yeah.
Let's bring it up. Here we go.
Pretty good colors on these. These are Osamu Tezuka. He's kind of like the Kirby of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
This one's from 1959.
Astro Boy?
Yeah.
59. That's real old for that stuff.
I try to pick the real cool covers, I kind of approach this stuff just like I approached Golden Age back in the day, when I didn't know anything price-wise. I just went by the covers I loved. And thankfully those were Schomburg, so that did okay with that. But his artwork's so good. It's hard to compete with his stuff. They call him the god of manga, rightfully so. It's really nice interiors too. It's got the crappy Golden Age pulpish style paper.
Love that paper.
and this, so yeah, this is a Fukudu, which is like means like add-on or appendix.
Right.
So they came with the big magazines, and then this one's cool. I haven't got many of these. These were sometimes rented out. They were a little earlier. They went from like the 40s through the 60s, but this one's I think right around low 19 early 50s. But this is Tezuka too. But these are they would. I'm not entirely sure if this one is one of them, but they had rental shops, manga rental shops, and I think it was like a chain or something. Either it was a chain or they had a distributor that would just go to all these rental shops in Japan, and then the shop would just buy them. But then they would, you'd go to the shop, rent your manga, and they had little like some of them have cards in the back of stamps of like when they were rented for how much. But they're all like self-contained, like graphic novels in a way,
Right.
Before that. But here's a Tezuka early one.
What's that? 1950.
Like 56, I think.
56. Okay, yeah.
But great colors.
I was going to say that the paper quality might be shit, but the color they used was dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's attractive right there, all the way through.
Got spine,
Yeah, good spine.
It's pretty beat up, but
Yeah.
it's going for. But yeah, I mean, it's big. Like it's really thick.
And they used to throw those out, or they don't collect them, or
well, a lot of these
obviously this is
beat up
more
because they were rented. I believe this one was. I don't really understand like how some were sold, but some were just only rented, but some were exclusively rented. I don't know if this is one of those, but yeah, it's interesting. It has like different shades each chapter, I think. No, I don't know how they divide up, maybe every other page, but yeah, I don't know. I won't be getting much of these because I mean, this one was I think I got a good deal on this. It was like an auction, but usually they're really pricey. I don't know how he did. I mean, he did tons of these things. So, I mean, he did have assistants, but still,
yeah.
he was doing this and the like weekly manga and all that stuff. But yeah, very cool.
Really good.
I love the color.
Really cool. One of the things what I love about doing this show now is we've branched off into doing our golden ages, sticking with the golden age, or influenced by the golden age. And when we see something like that, that's rare. That probably can't see that many other places.
I have one more question for you guys.
Okay.
So I have, some of these books, right? I will cut, a bag, a regular comic bag or whatever.
Yeah, it looks good.
Going up like this, and then I cut it and then put it in here. But I'm noticing that they like retain air. So then when I have a bunch of them like stacked or whatever, they like, if you try to like push it down, you're going to damage the books because they'll start moving around. But like, I don't know. What's a better?
I have the same problem with pulps.
Just put a pinhole in the corner.
Yep. Exactly.
Because it's really not good to have the air that's in there sealed off, and you need to sort of let it breathe and protect it at the same time. So yeah, some of the bags I buy from my local comic shop, which I don't very often, but they have this really high back lip, and it folds over and it traps the air. So I stick a pinhole through when I get them, I stick a pinhole through the corner, like
here or something.
Yeah, I just put a pinhole right through the corner. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks. It doesn't open it up enough that it exposes it, but it lets the air. It lets it breathe enough that you don't want to trap the air in there, because whatever's in the air will just sort of fester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the non-bed sheet pulps that are older, they're a lot smaller. They're smaller than your standard, comic. And you want to find a bag that'll work with, and
Yeah,
Some-
like this is not
Some modern bands work with it, but
they're not flat.
Yeah, that's no good. I put a
Yeah.
little.
yeah, I put a pinhole in them. What I ended up doing is leaving air in the corner here and pushing all the air out there. And this is an example here because I don't like putting the backy board necessarily on this
Yeah, me neither.
because often at times I'm like, okay, make sure I have the right back to it. And I don't like the less I pull it out and less I touch, the better.
And they have cool
And-
backs, some of them too, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the other thing. There's a whole run of books of the pulp era from 43 to 47. 4 or 5 have artwork both sides. If they even tell you on the front, says, "Hey, don't forget about the back." And some of them have, your typical ad, like this. The first buck has, the ads, and then you have the headless horseman. I think I might have one with a back here. Some do, some don't. I was
Yeah,
actually
the CBCS, the new CBCS slabs actually have 2 holes. They're not pinholes, but they're similar. They have 2 holes on the bottom of the slab, so that air can go in and out a little bit.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a common thing to make sure that they're protected. Yes, the paper is protected and preserved, but you don't want the air trapped. So you want to protect it from the air with giving it a little room to breathe, I think.
Right.
That's my understanding, and that's why I do that when I have, those certain bags I get. Every time I get them, they're like that. I put a little hole in the corner.
Nice.
I also got so these guys are Sofubi. They're little small guys, and I know that they make a bunch of different sizes of these guys. And I saw a relatively cheap. I knew it was bigger than this guy, which is Kamen Rider V3, 1973.
Okay.
But I wasn't really prepared for how big and how kind of cool the new one I got. So
Wow.
yeah,
Put that on the big screen. Yes, that's
pretty massive.
It is
Yeah.
like-
Very big, and it's pretty neat. It's like pretty cheap plastic, hollow, but this one even has a mask.
Oh, it's like Maskatron.
So yeah,
Nice.
Oh, cool.
pretty silly, but yeah, I could see. There's a lot of Sofubi collectors who have like just shelves of like the same guy and like tons of different variations and sizes, and I could kind of see the appeal of that because they just look cool like together. But yeah, I mean, this is another thing. Like these big ones are usually a super high premium, but I kind of approach this stuff like I approached Golden Age when I first started, where I would just buy the cheap Schomburg ones, the ones that were beat up that no one else wanted, and you could slip through and get deals on, and then later on you're like, whoa, they might be worth a lot of money because it's not like they're easy to come by. And I always thought of it like, if this comic is really beat up, but if this were an Action 1,
Right.
wouldn't I love it? Wouldn't it be worth money? So I just kind of think of it like that.
Nice. I did want to show you that. Actually, Liz pointed out to me. I wanted to show this, that almost every episode of The Big Bang Theory has this poster.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's in between the bedroom and the bathroom.
Well, don't
Watching
get any
everyone. And this is, if you don't know, this is the War of the Worlds one.
Yeah, cool.
So I literally just pulled out some more pulps from the side.
That's in my folder, though, right?
That's your folder. And
In
I
my
actually
tracker
wanted-
feature over
because
there.
if you want to show, we were going to talk about what we were going to collect this year. Don't forget, DS, you still have
Oh,
Yeah, I love it.
the original.
Awesome.
Predates Robots. This is, again, we said it's from December of 1916.
That is so cool.
1916 Illustrated World with Santa and pens.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Yeah. So,
It looks like Santa with shotguns from such a small.
I know it looks like they look like Brownings, but they're actually Mont Blancs.
What? Don't try to
They're
hijack
Watermans, actually.
here because
Yeah. So that's very cool. So anyway, so
did we have any crazy like sales again this week? I feel like every week there's like all these auctions.
I haven't been. I was talking to DS earlier. I guess it was a fair price, but I heard a GSX-1. I mean, it's not Golden Age, but GSX-1, the Dave Cockrum cover. That book. A 6.0 sold for $6,400.
Well, yeah, that's a little high. There was one that came to mind that I was talking about with a group of other guys. Venus 19.
Yeah.
There was a Venus 19 on Heritage that sold in auction, and I think it's a 5.5. I think it sold in auction late last year. I think for like 7,400 or something. It's a 5.5, and it looked like you can see the owner was taking offers, and you can see the history of offers made, and it looks like he finally accepted an offer and sold it for $20,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's what I think. Now, that has risen to the top of PCH as one of the absolute best pre-code horror books. But a 5.5 for 20 grand seemed excessively high to me. That sale stands out of anything I've heard in the last week or two as being an exceptionally strong sale. So, the market's still strong, but then I looked today, somebody was selling an X-Men 94 at 8.0, and they wanted like 3,000 or 3,200 or something. I went on GPA, and the prices on that are down to like 1,800. And if you look at the GPA chart, it goes up and then it comes sharply down. So a lot of this stuff is coming down, and then I'm seeing some other stuff still going up. And some of these classic Golden Age covers are selling really, really strong. So, I don't really know what to make of it other than there's a divergence between comic books with superheroes and comic books with just classic works of art on them that are not related really to comic books at all. And it's interesting. There's a lot of different sort of market streams going on at the same time in the hobby overall. And it's interesting to watch. It's really difficult to navigate if you're dealing in all of them like I am, because like Silver Age Keys, that's one stream, and you have Golden Age Dark DA covers. You got Bronze Keys, and there's Copper stuff. It's difficult. There's a lot of different sort of like streams passing each other and moving in their own directions within the hobby.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. When I joke with somebody, I said I don't know which is going to come out least impacted if there ever is a downturn. Not that I care, but I hope everybody just buys what they want anyway.
Legend wants a close up of one of these.
Well, okay. Do you know which one?
Is it this guy? I think he thinks he looks like a wrestler. This is a Beep Yoon.
What's his name?
Beep Yoon.
Beep Yoon. Okay.
He's but this guy is actually a wrestler. Kind of like his thing is he is a wrestler. So I would think this might be more your style, Legend. This is Aztecurizer or something like that.
Nice.
Aztecu Kaiser. He says, Inspire. Yeah. Well, yeah. So those are the two probably wrestling type ones. Okay.
Very cool. Cool. That's cool. So, we were going to talk about stuff that our goals for this year. We're halfway through the year. Briefly, mine, I have been, obviously, everybody here knows I've been preoccupied going through anywhere between 4,100 and 5,000 different pulp items. So that's been busy. But my big pickup for my original art as well. If this was the year I got that Matt Bush huge Darth Vader painting, which I'm going to show the room in one of these shows. I'm actually going to broadcast from right there, the room next to me, which is where the TV is and everything. And that'll be fun because you'll get to see all the original art. but the only reason I'm not in there because my dog was in there howling a little while ago, so that would be annoying. For some reason, he howls now. He can't see, but that's it. But as far as my goal for this year is coming up in the next auction, I will make an aggressive. I'm going to hopefully get it. Unfortunately, it does have that pedigree on it. Oh, I also completed more of my Western pen collection this year.
Nice.
You guys saw me pick up my goal, for those of you who don't know, it's not just first appearances, but number one issues of the first of the titles. For example, Jungle Action 1 I picked up this year, Marvel 2-in-1 picked up number one, and Marvel Feature. Both of them number one in the Western pen pedigree. Few DC ones I picked up as well. The Phantom Stranger and the I actually traded one away. I traded the same book to someone in a 9.8 for a 9.6 Western pen, just because.
Yeah, the Western pens are beautiful, beautiful books.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody asks me what's your favorite one of it. I mean, my personal favorite is the Defenders 10, Hulk versus Thor. But that's just my favorite book of my favorite cover of that era, post Civil War.
Yeah, I like that one. I've had a couple copies.
Yep. So I have my Western pen of that, but we're gonna hope for some more. DS, did you want to go on yours, and then I could bring up the?
I was just going to, before I go on though, with the Thor versus Hulk, I really love that's one of the best rivalries in comics is Thor versus Hulk, and they have so many classic battles and some real classic covers. My favorite was always Thor or Journey into Mystery 112.
Got that one too, yeah.
That one is such a classic. That was one of the first Silver Age books I ever bought when I got back into the hobby. I bought a low grade Heritage, I don't know, 2015 or something like that. And that's always that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, this was something I had done.
I think you've shown that before.
Yeah, if you didn't see this is something I had done by a guy off the boards who does cover recreations. And I says, look, I want a Journey 112 with Vader versus Thanos. But it has to be the original gear.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Original Starlin style Thanos right there. But that is my. It's funny you bring that up because 255 is another one. That I think I have one here. I've got about 7 or 8 copies of it. I swear I'm out of control. I don't even know where I put it. I don't even know where it is right now, but I have the Hulk 255. You've got Thor 385 is another one. You've got obviously Defenders 10. And then there's some later ones that are much more modern, like some ones, but it's always a good rivalry in there, especially that era of Avengers and Defenders is my favorite. The Avengers versus the Defenders war or battles. It's just good guys versus good guys is one of my favorite things. So
goals, sort of what I was doing this year. So you look, I did some heavy thinking about what I want to do as a collector and investor and all that within the first few months of the year, because what's spurred this was, we all sold books last year that we felt good with the prices until this year, and we realized we left tons of money on the table. If we would have just held it for an extra month, we could have made $1 million more. You know what I mean? Everybody feels that way. So I made a decision to be a little more patient and deliberate selling some of the bigger books I had. So I decided I was just going to slow down the selling and just piece stuff out in a more deliberate, patient manner to sort of capture more profits. And, this is how I approach other things in my life. But then with comics, I'm always trying to just go real quick. So I've decided I've really made an effort to slow down, and I've done that. And the other thing that I wanted to do was sort of pick up some bigger books and just sit on them as like just put together like a project. And I did that with the ASMs and some of the Silver Age keys. I did like a Silver Age project, and I picked up a bunch of really nice Silver Age books as a project. And instead of just doing one-off books, buy a book, flip a book, buy a book, flip a book, I decided to do like projects. So I wanted to do like a Silver Age project. And this is part and parcel of going slower, more deliberate. It takes time to put the project together, and then down the road, it will take time to move it. And it's like a 1 year process. So I put together a project of Silver Age stuff, which pretty much have exhausted my budget on them. So I really can't get any more right now. And I'm just going to sit on them, and I'll start piecing them out to capture profits over the rest of the year, maybe into early next year, depending on how the market goes. And that'll be sort of a project. So I'm just trying to go slower and more deliberate with that. And what I'm doing with the money I make is try to find really rare, really cool Golden Age books. And the Foxhole and the Flame, those are two examples of that. So I'm basically trying to keep the wheels of industry moving on the superhero stuff in order to stash away classic works of art from the Golden Age. That's sort of what I'm doing. And I'm just trying to take a more deliberate, patient approach to it than I was previously, where I was just flipping like crazy.
Nice.
It's been working out good so far. We'll see. I'm very happy with how the first half has gone. Now, hopefully, this stuff will go up in value, and I can turn it into some nice GA later on. So we'll see how that goes.
Good. Knights?
Well, I would love if before this year was over, I could actually return to comics, because I've been kind of waiting it out, and I've been like putting that money into grails of other things. But I've kind of exhausted a lot of those avenues. I forgot about this, not that it's for this channel, but actually I'm going to make some videos on it now that you ever like want to make a video, but you're like, I just need to get one or two things and then I can make it. So it's a real pain. But I finished out getting the all first printings of the original D&D modules.
Yep.
So
Nice.
finally,
And that's with the yellow.
this is the last one I needed, which was the first one that they ever did. And you could tell it's the first printing by the Lizard guy.
That's what I was going to ask you. There's a yellow line on some and a Lizard guy, right?
Well, this is for these modules for
Right.
AD&D Advanced Dungeons. Once they established that, because for like 4 years or so, it was just Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, these were you need the Lizard, and it was insane to come. I don't know what the hell. It was one of those things where like finally it came up. Like every now and then I'd find a dealer or something who had it, and they wanted way too much, and it was like back and forth, and then I'd be like, screw it. And then, one came up and it was like reasonable. So, but yeah, these are cool. Like, oh, this one's neat. It's like this is from 78. I think this is like when the Dark Elves were first created.
Oh.
Which, like Drizzed. I don't know if anyone, but the Drow, whatever. Very cool. But yeah, I mean, these covers are kind of like, when I was a kid, I thought these like, what? Those colors look crap, like why would you buy, because they remade a lot of them with nice, the more normal D&D. And this was the second AD&D logo. So still, if you get a Wizard one, that's definitely worth something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're on the look, because there are stuff times that when people have come over to me and I say, hey, I found these Dungeons and Dragons. I know you have a guy that looks for them. I'm like, let me see them. And I can tell if they're from like 81, 82.
Yeah.
I know that I've sent you pictures of some. I'm like, is this anything? And you'd be like, no, these are second printings.
Yeah. It's tough, man. I mean, these are almost disposable. Here's a kind of cool one. I got the basic rules, but it's first printing here. You got the Lizard. Oh, and another thing, you can tell if it's really definitely pick it up if you can get it for cheap. If you ever see this where it says the asterisk next to the D&D.
Yeah.
So it says TM applied for.
So
So
they
they,
registered the trademark.
yeah, they're getting it. They're in the process of getting D&D trademarked.
So it's not even trademarked yet. That's cool.
Yeah. So that's definitely, if you, that's how you could tell the original Monster Manual, which was one of the most valuable ones.
Nice.
With that, and then but yeah, so I finished that, and then I went into video games, and I got a bunch of. I'll just show a few. Like this is a nice NES, because the prices here are crazy, but
yeah,
it's kind of weird. Like you can get some of the stuff in Japan, which is when it came out first.
That's Zelda.
Yeah, here's the original Mario. I love those covers too.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to pick up some of the like original ones, and they're a lot cheaper there. And these were never sealed, so I think that's part of why they haven't, skyrocketed like they did. This is the first Metroid. It was for their disc system.
Oh, I like Metroid.
Pretty wild.
Metroid was a good game. I didn't get the robot thing that came with it, but.
And I just picked up some this is a Phantasy Star. I don't know if you ever heard that.
No.
That was a great Sega game. And then you probably heard this one, the Metal Gear.
Yeah.
This is the first.
Yeah, that was cool. You showed
appearance. You can get a sealed PlayStation 2 Metal Gear Solid for like 10,000 or I don't know, maybe more. Or you could. This was tough to find for sure, but this is the first actual ever Metal Gear ever. And it's pretty hard to come by. And then this was cool because I finally completed this, and they just happened to fit in this frame I had, but all the Nintendo Mega Mans.
I was going to say it's all the Mega Man, right?
Yep.
That's
just awesome artwork.
Who was? For the NES, was it Konami, Capcom?
Yeah.
Who?
Squaresoft a little.
Yeah.
And then here's this one. I think this was one of those occasions where you just like something that it might not be that rare. You're just kind of wacko for wanting it, But I've been researching the first the origins of survival horror and sci-fi survival horror, kind of like the movie equivalent would be like Alien or The Thing, and this is apparently maybe the first survival horror game ever, sci-fi, and it's a very rare Japanese, rare as in I think people threw them out or no one cares or knows what it is, but it was for their PC, but it was called Nostromo.
Mm-hmm.
The same name as the ship on Alien, but it was a survival horror game.
Nice.
And it looks, this was talking way back.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, that's survival horror gameplay.
the
pretty neat cover,
That is pretty cool. Very Lovecraftian.
And that took forever to find. I had Japanese friends what? I don't know how, they can't. That has tapes in it. You'll see tapes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember some of the games that I thought were some of the most advanced graphics I had ever seen.
Yeah.
Computer game. There was two of them. The second one was like the sequel and a higher quality version of the first one, but the computer game was called Myst. I don't know if you guys ever played Myst. Yeah. And then the second one was even better. It's called Riven.
Yep.
And Myst and Riven were two of the absolute most fun, just visually engaging games I've ever played. They're computer games. I don't know if there's a market for computer games, but
there sure is.
Games are big now, I think. But I remember when PCs became powerful enough to play games on them. And I used to play Myst and Riven, and then I also used to play Lemmings, which I bought.
Yeah.
I bought one of these things at Radio Shack or somewhere, and it was like a CD-ROM, and it had a whole bunch of games on it. But the only one I ever played was Lemmings, and Lemmings was just, if anybody's ever played Lemmings, it's such a goofy game, but it's like a puzzle game, and it was so much fun. And so that just reminds me of those old computer games I used to play. And this is probably like early 90s.
Some computer games are insane. So the way I approached when I kind of jumped ship from comics for a bit, and you know, I'll never stop. It's just your money can just go so much further. Like, you know, when you approach collecting, you're like, what's the best Captain America I can get? You know, you can narrow it down, like, okay, Cap 1, or like, you know, best Wolverine thing, you know, Hulk 181, you know. So there's like the absolute grails of a certain IP or whatever. So what I was doing was just finding, you know, like for instance, Metal Gear, you know, that's a huge IP. And you're like, what is the absolute first, hands down, you know? And, you know, it's like, okay, that's what it is. And it's like, this was, you know, less than $1,000, which, like, if you compare it to some of the comic stuff, I mean, it's a joke. But this is special. And sometimes it's really fun to hunt and hard to hunt. And speaking of PC games, I didn't play these, but I knew I like finding the historical like moments in like pop culture, I guess, you know, and like, that's why, like, you know, that's the first survival horror, but like this, you know, I tried to get the first one, but there's only like a few on eBay or maybe only one, but it's like ridiculous priced because they know now, you know, but I think you could probably find some of these somewhere, but it's a game called Ultima, and it's one of the first like RPGs, American, and these even influenced the Japanese RPGs because this is really early, like I think early 80s. But
I never played that.
Yeah, Ultima 1, I mean, that is thousands for sure. And like Doom 1, I mean, you know, people, just anything you think like, oh, everyone knows what that is. And there's eras like this is like, you know, early 80s, like I think this was for like the Apple II or like Commodore, like stuff no one ever uses anymore. So they just threw them out. So anytime it's like that, where like people upgrade or they just chuck them, like no one cares about the old Macintosh game, like whatever. Then now it's like, yeah, find it now. And it's like,
yeah, that's the difference. A lot of people who are just getting into the comic hobby or collectibles in general, you really have to be careful. There's two different kinds of collectibles. There's the authentically sort of organic rarity, stuff that becomes rare and collectible because it never was in the first place. Mm-hmm. And then stuff that's manufactured collectible. And that's like, you know, no offense to anybody who's in it, but they're probably not in our chat anyway, is like modern variants. Or like the 90s first collector's issue. You saw that on every single book in the 90s. You know what I mean? And that's not organic collectability. Yeah. That's manufactured collectability.
Like intrinsic value.
But the stuff that organically becomes collectible is the stuff that was never intended to be collectible, never was, never saved, never taken care of. And then later on, that's why it becomes collectible.
Pulps.
Yeah, pulps. Yeah. So, you know, any comic.
Golden Age comic.
Back, really. And, you know, some of these video games, I think, maybe do well in the future. A lot of this modern stuff, though, it's manufactured collectability. It's not organically. It's just made to be collectible. And, you know, I know there's a lot of people collect Funko Pops. I feel like Funko Pops is not something I would want to be in for value. No, I'm just talking value. If you like collect stuff you like, sure.
But you know, I'm sure the first one will be worth keeping, you know, over time. Like I feel like go for the historic value.
It could. I mean, Beanie Babies were huge once too. You know what I mean?
I'm sure there's one Beanie Baby worth having.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always one or something, but I mean, I see people who have like tens of thousands of. There's Funko Pop channels on YouTube, and these guys have museum collections of Funko Pops. There will be a few here and there that maybe will be cool because that was a pop culture explosion.
Well, back when they were just two guys in their garage, and they made a limited run of like the first 100.
Yeah, I mean, something like that's got organic collectability, perhaps. Sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just something you got to be aware of when you're in collectibles, be careful not to load up on a bunch of stuff that is manufactured collectability. It's sort of like artificial collectability.
And I think Sean at Reserved Investments, I don't know if you've seen that channel, but
well, I see that guy. Yeah,
I love that guy. He I can't remember what he called it. I wish I could remember. My wife calls him the Yeller because he's always you have to it's pretty funny. But he talked about getting things that and we kind of talked about it already, like, because for us it's like a golden age book that kind of goes outside its radius, like as far as like appeal, like it appeals to all these other different people of other genres. And he said, like, yeah, if you go after stuff like that, like something that's collectible organically or intrinsic value, because maybe it's the first of something, but it's also like historical, like the first of its kind or something about it. That way it's a little bit safer, and I think those will stand.
Yeah, you got something like, Chamber of Chills is the PCH I always talk about. That transcends. There's people that don't collect comics that know that image, that want that book.
Yep.
And something like Action Comics 1, that is the first sort of, it's considered the first comic book generally in the culture. It's Superman. That Superman transcends comics. I mean, Superman is just an American icon like apple pie and rock and roll. And you get something like that transcends the category.
Or like those World War II covers with Hitler and stuff like that. Yeah. There you go.
Exactly. And I feel like stuff like this appeals to anybody who loves art. This is a unique type of art on these Golden Age books. It's not like the Van Gogh paintings. It's not like a Frazetta painting. It's not like any number of it's not like classic photography. It's its own sort of unique type of art. It appeals to people who like art. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that's being purchased for big prices in this category is by people who just like art and not necessarily comics. It's appealing to a wide array of art lovers.
I think that's why it's going to keep going. That's why comics, we don't have to worry about it too much as like going away, because I mean, people aren't going to stop drawing no matter what. Right. We're going to keep making art. We're going to keep drawing. And, these are masterpieces that will never be topped or people, it'll always inspire someone to make a better one or whatever. Like, it's not going away. Like, so comics, even if the medium is gone and maybe they don't make movies about it anymore, it's still like you look at it and it's a work of art. And
I'll tell you, the digital age has revolutionized special effects and just visual effects and creating images, movies, art, anything like that. That has given rise to an explosion of creativity in science fiction and horror. Yeah. And what that does is it generates new groups of people who are into really like dark stuff, horror, mystery, sci-fi, and then you have some of the foundational examples of that in comics and pulps. And I think it draws a lot of people in when it's so different from what is coming out now in these categories, but it's like foundational, and it's got a cool factor that the further along we go, the cooler it gets, I feel like.
Exactly.
The Golden Age covers.
I have horror collectors, people that collect horror, always asking me for the same pulp. It's the August of 1938 Astounding Stories, because the first time the John Carpenter The Thing story from 1980 movie, that's the premise is based on that, and John Campbell's pretty much brought into the golden age of sci-fi. They actually call it that. When John Campbell took over of Astounding Stories. And in that August of 38, which was a couple of months after that, is the story of The Thing from that eventually was in the Wilford Brimley, Kurt Russell, John Carpenter film.
Yeah.
That's one of the things when you brought up that. I mean, The War of the Worlds is a big example. People that like that stuff. The H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, I mean, the Lovecraft, this is a Lovecraftian the difference between this book and the other book is there's no scarcity between this. This isn't that scarce, but because this is a major Lovecraft story, this is the Shadow Out of Time. It's way more desirable for people because of the Lovecraftian nature of it.
Yeah.
And
all these themes get used over and over and over, like just say like vampires and Dracula.
Mhm.
You know, they've really revolutionized a lot of different types of vampires and drag. I mean, you got movies like Underworld. I mean, that's, you know, really opening the floodgates on vampires and werewolves. But
Way
it all
better than the
relates
movie.
back to a starting point. You have the early Universal monsters, the early like Nosferatu, you know, the early movies, the early comic books, the early pulps. It's all foundational stuff that's been built on. And I think at this point, you got to say a lot of those themes are just, they're not going away, and they've just been persistent for, you know, some of them coming up on, you know, 100 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the popularity for that stuff will remain. Now you get something like Spider-Man. He's an icon. You know, I'm not sure where, you know, if they go with Miles Morales or Spider-Man fades out of popularity, is where does Spider-Man fit in, or something like a Thor? I mean, the movies, those are big now, but what 50 years from now, are those going to be big? You know, I don't know. You don't know where this stuff's going to go. Some stuff I feel like is more ingrained in the culture than other stuff. I feel like Superman and horror, like werewolves and stuff, that stuff's ingrained. It's not going anywhere. This never did. I don't see that ever going away. Stuff like Spider-Man or Thor or, you know, I don't know, Moon Knight.
Thor being a god that, you know, because everybody says, well, the first appearance of Thor. I'm like, first appearance of Thor is in Norse mythology. If you could go find those original texts from the 1400s, have a good time. For the first written word, I joke with people. I said DC did a comic about Thor before Marvel ever did. It was a Batman story. I have it.
I do think there's something special about this one, though.
I think the iconic nature of it.
And, you know, he related, you know, before him, there
first teenage
relate to him, and he had problems, and, you know.
Well, it's historical too. I mean, comic books as an art form, that's like one of the, I think that's considered the start of the superheroes in comics, the superhero comic. It's not the first one, but that's what people think. That's the iconic start of superhero comics, which are, you know, American icon of an art that we came up with. But let me ask you this: like, if you had to pick a comic book 100 years from now will definitely be worth money, what do you pick? I mean, that's a tough question. Like AF-15, Action 1, Tech 27, Startling 49. You know what I mean?
Up there because I have a firm belief. I have a belief that Billy Batson and that character, they're gonna do something with it. I just have a feeling about it. I've had this feeling because I watched boys that were like 9, 10, and 11 in their reaction to this movie. I asked my nephew this question, and I asked him, what was your favorite movie of all the movies, not Marvel? And he looked at me straight to the face and says Shazam was the best one. Really? All right. And I said, you didn't like the Justice League? He goes, no, because Shazam wasn't in it. I'm like, really? He goes, it's too, he said, he goes, it's, and he's kind of a wise ass. So he's like, I don't think the other one's for kids. Well, that one, I relate, you know, I would be like that. You know, I'm like, okay. So if that generation, now he's a smart kid, likes the Marvel stuff that's made for them. But if you haven't really noticed, a lot of 10-year-old humor or 10-year-old or the era of comics of the people that read Amazing Fantasy 15 when it came out were young. They were kids. When people read comic books, they were kids. People watching these movies now are predominantly us in our 20s, 30s, and 40s. You know, there's a difference to that. People, I asked him what book did he want to read, and he says, I'd like to read the story of Shazam. I said, well, good luck. You're going to have to get an anthology or something. And I was like, okay, so this makes sense to me then, that that the characters that the generations appear to. This is why I don't have a problem with any character going through any changes or anything else like that. I'm like, we don't own the rights to these characters. I don't care what they do. In reality, I just want to know what the next generation is going to buy, because that's why Miles Morales is number one. That's why Spider-Gwen, my daughter loves Pink Spider-Woman, loves Gwen Stefani. She's fun. She plays drums, and my son likes Miles. He just thinks Miles is a cooler suit. I mean, that particular movie, to me, is the is the Amazing Fantasy 15 of this generation.
I don't know though if these kids would even be seeing this if it wasn't for their parents, though.
Oh, of course not. Right.
I mean,
of course it
I found comics. I don't think I found it. I was wandering around the supermarket being like, this sucks. This is boring. I don't have any more quarters for the arcade machine. What the hell? You go to the make wannabe toy section and it's like a bunch of crap. And then you're in the magazines and you're like, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, whoa, what is this? And you're like, comic book, and I always wondered, what if my dad or my grandpa was like, check this one out, look at this is my favorite guy. I might not even liked it, It was like my own thing.
My first trade ever was a Tony Perez baseball card for a Avengers. Thor was on the cover, and it was from 1970, whatever.
Nice.
Traded it away. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. I got this because they came in the McDonald's set, right? Or the Drake's coffee cakes, whatever it was. Tony Perez was there, and the guy wanted his Tony Perez. He's like, I collect the baseball cards. He goes, would you take these comics for it? And my older cousin was like, get those comics. And he goes, why? He goes, those baseball cards, you're done reading them as soon as it's over. Comic book you can reread, and if you want to really read it. And then I sat down and read it, didn't understand what was going on, and then I says, who the hell is this guy? And the Hulk was already on TV, so I knew who the Hulk was. I knew who Thor was. I had the Saturday morning cartoon, so I knew who they were. I just didn't it changed me of becoming not an obsession at the time, but it became one of those things saying, where I can actually, my parents would be like, oh, let him read the funny papers. That's what they called them. Let him get the funny papers. At least he's reading something.
Yeah.
Let him sit there and get those things. And
Did
then
you find it yourself?
Yeah.
What's that?
Did you find them yourself too?
Well, my dad, when I was young, he used to bring home the new issue of Thor every month when it came out. And he would give that to me. So he was like, here, check this out. I bought something. And I was excited. And it was in one of those the brown paper bags that are real thin. And it had a comic in there. So he bought me the comic. And it was a Thor comic. And this was probably 1984.
You got the Simonson run. Nice.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. And so every month he would bring me home the new one. And then I really liked them. And I was like, I can't wait. I'm like, Dad, is it this week? He's like, no, I'll check. Maybe not. And then when I would go to the grocery store, same thing. I would hate the grocery store, but then I would like it because I would be like, we're going to the grocery store today? And I would go right over to the magazine section and I would start looking at the comics. And I saw a whole bunch more than just the Thor I've been reading. And I started to buy, the first time I started to buy was actually the Index to the Marvel Universe or whatever that was.
Oh yeah.
And I would read, and they have I remember schematics of Tony Stark.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And he said first appearance. You're like, ooh, first appearance.
Yeah, it had diagrams of his suit. It had
Amazing.
I remember seeing Lockjaw being blown away, this dog with prongs on his head, and it had the villain issue came out, and it was all the bad guys, and Mephisto was in there, and so then I started buying. I would always allowed to buy one or two comics every time we went, and then I just started buying them, and then. Do that for a while. And then when you're old enough to get your license, then me and my friends in the neighborhood could drive down to the comic shop. And then it was like a whole store with these. Are you kidding me? This isn't getting better than this. And then I was just, it was all in then, everything you could find. And that was probably I turned 16 in 1991. So from 91 to 94 in high school, I would go there all the time. And built a little collection. We would trade stuff back and forth. And then, I went on and I just left my stuff at my parents' house, went on with my life, and rediscovered it like 6 years ago and got back in. But yeah, the grocery store was probably my most fond memories of comics.
Mine was the newsstand. Literally going outside the house, up the block to the guy selling the newspapers outside.
Oh, that's awesome.
Giving the guy $2 for my dad's cigarettes, a comic book, and I could get like chiclets or something because I wasn't allowed to have all the candy.
Were you able to read them, or did you have to point at the cover?
Oh, he knew what I was getting. The comic book guy. I started buying my own at the newsstands in 1983, and I didn't stop. So like every time a Secret Wars came out, the guy would see me on my bike and he'd stop me and says, "Yep, give me a Secret War." And I would trade the subway tokens for comics.
I would save I would get some lunch money,
or take my bike to school just so I could get an extra.
Yep. I'd get lunch money, and then after a while, I realized like, hey, I could just not eat lunch, and then have money for comics.
Yeah, I mean, I would buy I was quite the little whatever. I would buy the 10-pack with the $1.25 I get from returning coins. Or returning cans, I get $1.25.
Oh yeah, cans. Yeah,
buy 10 packs of Juicy Fruit for $1.19. Sell them for 25 cents a piece to everybody there. Take the $2.50 and go get $3. You know, because the thing about Secret Wars, I think that was the first time the books got more money. Like they were more money. The annuals were a lot of money, but the other one there, and the Fantastic Four annual I bought was, I forget which one it was. I remember it being, I was like, $1? Are you kidding me? You know, I flipped out. I said, I'll never pay more than $1 for a comic book ever. Boy, I was way off on that, you know.
I'll tell you though, I was buying, we all bought other stuff. The comics I kept in really nice shape, and I eventually bagged and boarded them, and I was buying from the comic shop. So I discovered bags and boards as a teenager. And so everything's bagged and boarded and organized, and I would go through them all the time and just organize them. But then all the other stuff I had, like I had all the original G.I. Joes. I don't know where they are. I had all the original like Transformers. I found some of them a few years back. I had Muscles. They were little like.
Yeah, I got them.
Yeah, I had a whole bucket of those things, man.
I have the original 12 still.
That's cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have those anymore. I had an entire first series of the Garbage Pail Kids, the whole first series, and my dad had an uncut sheet of the first series, which I think he cut them up at some point, and that was part of what I had. There was just no way to store it where we lived. I grew up in a trailer park. There's no room to store a giant sheet of uncut Garbage Pail Kids.
Right.
I had the whole complete set of those. I had the Mask toys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the only stuff I kept good, and I always knew where it was over the years, was the comic books. The other stuff I didn't value as much as the comics, and I wish I still kept all of it. But even back then, the comics were the priority. I mean, those were the important stuff, and the other stuff I just sort of threw in a box.
I always remember
you lived it. It's kind of like the equivalent of podcasts and shows you watch every week, like this fantastic one right here you're watching. But you get to know these people, the characters, and it's like an ongoing thing. You got to find out and they have the history. The toys didn't really.
No, I remember the first G.I. Joe I got was the one with the guy with the flamethrower. I wasn't as crazy into G.I. Joe. The first Transformer I got was Soundwave. The first,
but you knew with the comic, it was like something.
The comic, I could tell you, I was more interested in getting the comic than I was anything else.
I'll tell you, I think it's still at my parents' house. I sent away for the G.I. Joe. It was you had to send away for this, and you got like the Cobra kit or something. You got the Cobra membership card. You got the chameleon that changed colors.
Yeah,
and whatever came in that kit, and I remember getting it. It had like when you opened the box and got it out, it had like the package said top secret. One of those like top secret cards on it. And I kept all that stuff. It's somewhere at my parents' house right now. I guarantee it. It's somewhere there. I'll find it sometime. Cool. That was my favorite G.I. Joe because it was so special. And the chameleon changed colors. I remember I had that. I had the whole Omega Supreme of the Transformers along with Predaking. And I kept all the instruction booklets and the stickers and the weapons in Ziploc bags. And so, like, I
used
never lost anything.
Identification cards for the GI
Yeah.
Joes and put them behind them. And my sister got Lady Jane, and I think that's who was the first girl. Was it Lady Jane?
I can't remember the names of any.
Scarlet.
Scarlet was first. He had the first one of those. We got the GI Joes because our cousins were getting them, and my mom and dad weren't really big into me getting more war shit or that because we had veterans in the house and whatnot, but they were more interested in like plus they had enough Star Wars stuff with me. They were like, we got to get you something. Like, to this day, my mom still gets me something Star Wars every year for Christmas. She's been doing it since 1977, mind you, and it's going on ridiculous number of years at this point. But what the funny thing is that I remember that when people ask me what's your first Star Wars toy, I tell them, I said it was cardboard. I had that. And the funny thing was that is worth more than the toy. I'm like right now.
Yeah.
My mom was like, it was the dumbest thing ever, but you had to get it. And we looked it up I don't know if you guys had Consumers where you guys were. They had a catalog about size of a magazine, and it was there, but they had like the toys were in the back of it that were upcoming. So they came out and like it would get to your house in April, and then June the toys would start coming out, and they were supposed to be there for the Christmas.
I mean, I love JCPenney's catalog.
It was like a JCPenney's, except Consumers didn't have a store. You'd have to order it, like the stores would order from this. And then there was Kenner, and Kenner was on the top, and it had just the Star Wars stuff and a few of these things, Maskatron and Steve Austin, A Man Barely Alive, and stuff like that.
What was your guys' toy stores that you would go to?
Playworld.
Oh, Playworld.
Playworld. I had a Playworld, and KB Toys was
KB at the mall.
Yeah,
KB. And we had Playworld was walking distance from our house. I mean, again, I lived in the city.
Toys R Us? Is that like a Toys R Us kind of thing?
Yeah, it was exactly like a Toys R Us. We had our different commercials. We had a big ball instead of a giraffe.
Lord Tatman said Child World. I remember.
Child World was the panda. That was not too far, except I couldn't walk to it. And
I had a Kitty City. Did you have a Kitty City?
Yeah, Lionel. They were a train place. Because I still have my dad's 1951 train set in the back of this house now. And I moved when my parents moved out. They shipped my dad's old train set when he was a kid.
What about you, DS?
Well, we had KB Toy Store in the mall, and then I think I got most of my toys honestly at Jamesway, which was like a Walmart. Yeah. So I mean, I got
my Slave One.
My toys came from Jamesway.
I got my Slave One. Boba Fett ship.
Yeah.
My mom, this was the first year, I don't remember when it was, but
with the Han Solo and Carbonite?
Yeah. So I remember an argument with my mom because I was like, but the check was in my card for my birthday. And she started to go on, no, that's for clothes.
Yeah.
No, it's for my birthday. And I must have thrown enough fit that we actually went to Jamesway, and I got the Slave One.
I got the Death Star the day it came out, right? Here was the thing. We didn't have any money either, but what we did have is my parents saved up enough to where they'd say, what would keep him quiet?
Yeah.
And it was just in a way where Christmas, like they were buying stuff in April, May, June, July, and keeping them until Christmas. Yeah. And I remember, everything that I would get was like whatever Star Wars. I remember the AT-AT. Like my mom talks about it to this day. She goes that it was the most expensive toy at $25 or $29 they ever would purchase in their life. Like bicycles weren't that much when they were kids. So getting my parents willing to do this was crazy. But the AT-AT was is the toy that I still to this day, the reaction of that was the Empire. The first time it came out was I think it was a year after Empire. Because I don't think it came out in 82. Because the one thing I got in 82 was there was a cardboard version of it. And it was like it was literally the same thing just different colors as the Sandcrawler was.
Yeah,
Same fucking thing, you know. And the first Star Wars figures I got, like that weren't part of that collection. I remember getting Greedo and taking his gun off and putting it somewhere else. And I remember getting every little thing at Playworld. Now, Playworld was, I don't think it was local only to New York or only to the city, but Woolworth was another place I would go because I worked at one eventually, the Five and Dime we called it. But you know, I would go there a lot. Once every month. I'd have to help my grandmother. She'd go to run errands with her. So go get to the bank, walk her to the bank. I might have been like 7 or 8 years old. Just go with her, and she'd go to the bank, and then next door was Woolworth. So she'd have to go buy her notions, as she called it, which meant yarn, right? And I would jet off right to the toys and be like, "Can I get this?" Yeah. And she said, "It is $3," and it was Greedo. And I'm like, I don't have him. And they don't, that's the start of it. But the Star Wars toys, I remember getting like the first of the big toys. I didn't get the Mask toys. Mask was a little, like I was sitting there, I'm like, am I too old to get this? But it looks so effing cool.
It was cool.
It was so cool. It was kind of like
my mom was kind of like me in a way. She'd be like, we're not starting another line.
Yeah, you know? Like my mom said, we're not going down the G.I. Joe
Star Wars. That's
it.
Star Wars. No Transformers.
Yeah, I also used to, you know, when we go to the store, sometimes I'd be allowed to buy one toy or something, and I remember a lot of times I just bought like random. I don't see them now because I still go look at toy sections, but just like random action figures that weren't associated with anything, just one random ass rubber goblin with weapons. It wasn't part of anything. It was just. That was it. And it was just, I was like, that's cool. I had all these random little things that weren't connected to any necessarily like movie or toy line. It was just a one-off toy. I had a lot of those things and I thought they were cool.
I had the 18-wheeler of ABC's Wide World of Sports with the cameraman.
Oh, nice.
The cameraman, because it was the Monday Night Football truck, right? It was a truck. And it had like 18-wheeler was the coolest thing. And inside it had the cameraman. The cameraman wore nothing but blue and had black hair, but he fit perfectly in the traps for all the Star Wars things. So that poor guy was killed many times. Like if you put him on, he had the holes on the bottom. Whoever came up with this stuff was brilliant. I'd ask for G.I. Joe. I'd get Riddle Jeeps like this big. They were like, no, you're not getting.
I remember someone in the chat, Freddie, said Stompers. I remember those. Freddie Falcon. Yeah. Did you guys have any Stompers?
I don't know what Stompers were. Shrinky Dinks.
Lord Just a little car. You put like one AA battery in, and then it just goes.
No, I never.
Nothing with batteries.
I loved it. They had a big one.
Fighter. I had to take him out because it drove my dogs crazy. Don't get me started. Bigfoot for this. Still don't have. Yeah. There's there's the toy. You know, I remember the kid up the block getting the G.I. Joes and the He-Mans, right? The kid across the street got He-Man. I wasn't really into the He-Man. I watched the show. Obviously, I loved it. 4:30 every day, never missed it. And he had the toys and everything else like that. But my fascination more at that point, Star Wars was dwindling out, right? You couldn't find as many Star Wars stuff around. And if you did, it was always the one that you always had multiple of, unless it was a Stormtrooper, which I usually had. You know, I couldn't stand the fact that you'd get one Stormtrooper. I'm like, I need like 7 or 8.
Yeah, really.
You can't live with one. It's like Cobra. You can't have one Cobra bad guy. You needed all of them. I didn't understand why people play with that. But at that time,
that was like became a really well used toy because you're like, boom, he's dead.
Yep,
he's coming back. Boom, he's dead again.
Dead again. Yeah, still can't shoot. But then there was Fisher Price came out with the 3-inch action figures.
Yeah, Adventure People. I love
Adventure People. They were called, right? They had the guy with the cowboy hat. They had a cowboy hat guy who flew a helicopter, right? Not G.I. Joe, but certainly could fill in when you needed it. You know, didn't have that extra mobile elbow, but whatever. He only went up and down and stuff.
Did you have? Yes, I'm thinking of like the cheap toys. I think it's called Magic Presto or something, where it was like you get a background. It was like in a bag like this big, and there was like a background, and there was an IP of like Star Wars, whatever, and it was like the background was like a Star Destroyer or something, and then you'd get another sheet that had pictures of like
color forms,
X-wings. No. This was called like Magic Press. I can't remember the name, but you
would etch on it.
You'd pencil it.
Yeah, you pencil it. Yeah,
and then
I never had that.
I had that, and then before that, there was color forms.
It was a classic poor kid toy.
Yeah, they were so bad. They were so bad.
No, we had a bunch of like. Me and my sister used to play a bunch of board games too, and I had like board games my parents bought like late 70s or like 1980, and they don't make them like this anymore. I wish I still had them, like the original Risk game with the big heavy plastic pieces and the really ornate map on the board. The anniversary edition of Monopoly, which came in a metal box. I had the Ewoks game, which was cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of the board games we had were almost like toys too. And then, of course, we had the other ones like Operation and Mousetrap and stuff. We played with those a lot, too.
I just bought my kids Perfection this week.
Yeah, nice. That's a good one, too.
It keeps them busy, but I keep telling them, don't lose the pieces. Because anybody who loses the piece, like, it's never the same.
Yeah.
The kids play Perfection right now. I went to Target and found that thing. And I called my mom and says, would you spend $20 on this thing? She goes, it was probably $5. I can tell you right now, we would never have spent that much money on a game.
You know where else we used to buy stuff? I remember now was Caldor. I don't know if you all ever went to Caldor.
Yeah, I did have one, but it was farther away. Like I always remember. See, to me, it was what can I sneak to and walk to?
Yeah,
money I have, and it was I could literally get to play World in like 4 minutes on bicycle, and I wouldn't have to cross the busy Broadway. If I didn't have to cross the busy streets, if I didn't have to, you were limited. Yep, like that guy.
Fisher Price.
Adventure People. There's a whole bunch of those at the shop right now.
I never had those.
Yeah, this was the poor man's G.I. Joe. Yep, came with the squid. That guy was in a bath. This yellow. Remember he had a submarine too, where you pinch the back and it would connect. Oh, that's Battlestar.
Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, I had that.
That was my favorite show when I was a kid.
It was the TV version of Star Wars.
Yeah.
These are probably my first two G.I. Joes.
Snake Eyes. That guy. That's the first one I had. But didn't he have like a visor across his face?
Yeah.
What's his name? Fire something? He had a flamethrower too. That was my first G.I. Joe. And that was the one I got that my sister got me, and my parents were like, we're not going down this road. And then
I also had something else called, I think they were called Zoids, maybe.
Oh yeah.
They were like little miniature models, but they were wind-ups, but you had to like put them together, and they made like little mechanized things, like a mechanized animal that would walk. There was one that had like flippers, and you could put it in a tub, and it would swim, and it was waterproof. And I think they were called Zoids, and they had a whole line of those. They're like little models, but they had wind-up mechanisms, and they all did something, and you'd have to put them together and make these little toys that would move.
That's what I was talking about. You pinch the back of it in the front there. I had that in the bathtub with me every time. Every time we took a bath, that had to come with me.
And I'm telling you, my daughter loves this thing. So it's still a good toy.
I look for those toys for my kids. My kids are playing with Fisher Price stuff now.
And DS, I'm amazed my parents and my grandparents, because I would get those Zoids and I'd be like, instructions? I don't need instructions.
Yeah, right.
I just look at the picture and make it. But I'm assuming you're
my God, you got one.
Oh, you have a Zoid. Look at that.
Holy cow.
Pretty cool, huh?
Those were awesome. I love those things.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They had the little guy on the top, like.
Yes, a little tiny guy that would sit in the cockpit of each of these things. And they all had wind-up mechanisms.
Yep. And you build it, and your parents are like, wow.
I can't believe you have a Zoids. That's awesome. That was one of my favorite things. That, and I had an Armatron, which I would use with the Zoids, and that became like a G.I. Joe weapon, the Armatron. Which
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
actually
thinking
tempted to buy an Armatron in the box. Still, I'm going to buy one. They're out there. You can find them. An unopened Armatron. Such a cool toy, man.
every now and then, my mom had an opinion about a toy, and that was one where she'd be like, "That's so stupid. I'm not buying you that. You have an arm. You have your own arm."
yeah.
Armatron was cool though.
I had the inflatable Hulk muscles.
I had found some old cards I had.
Hulk, nice. Yeah, I was gonna. I have to go through some stuff.
No, I think these they appealed to our collecting like genes or whatever, because you know we get these with every toy. You know, you get one of these things and
Yeah.
hooked.
Oh, the hovercraft, yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes I looked at these kind of things more than the actual toy I got. I would look at these and just obsess about what I could get someday. You know, oh, that guy, ooh.
Yeah, those are so cool. I still have all the Transformer ones somewhere, and my plan is to at some point get them framed so you can look at like
Man.
two of them where you can see the front and the back, but have two of them, one flip, so you can see both sides and frame them. And so I think it's like a work of art, man. It really is, because yeah, those instruction booklets were sometimes the coolest thing.
That's nice.
I still have this from this is mine I had as a kid. My dad, he liked these kind of things, but these army men.
Oh, the green guys?
Well,
Oh,
these were like
cool.
metal. They were from England. They're called Britons, but they were all over the place. But you know, they were more money than like your typical.
I never had those.
Down.
You probably saw this at here. Yeah, this was all over the place. These guys, these the typical World War II ones.
I never had those.
Now you're showing your age, JD.
Yeah, was that Steve Austin?
Yeah, Steve Austin, a man barely alive. You could look. I could still see through his eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, wearing the red jumper.
Yeah, that's even a little before my time, I think. I never
I
had.
didn't get any big dolls like that. You know, I had a friend who had the Star Wars ones. And
Yeah, I had
amazed
the Star
by it.
Wars ones.
But
My
I
sister
think my
had
parents were just like, you know, we could get like 10, you know, 4 or 5 of these little ones or one doll. So
mass control.
get them the little ones.
Yeah, I like these. I had the Evel Knievel gyro cycle. Was my favorite for a while. The problem with that is that we built a ramp and it hit Mrs. Neal and the neighbor right in the head when she was taking out the trash one day, and she ended up cutting her head, knocking her right down. She was an elderly woman. We hit her right in the head with the thing, right up the ramp, flew right over and right in the head. Never got it back.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fast way to lose your toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parents were like, "What did you do? Did you throw it at her?" I'm like, "No, look at that. We just did it." And they went, "We did the commercial, you know, the gyro cycle." That was from Dukes of Hazzard. Toys were fun.
There was a Spider-Man, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a Spider-Man one.
Yeah, I had I had the Knight Rider car.
I never had that. I like that show a lot, though.
I had the Knight Rider car. I still have the A-Team Matchbox van. I had a lot of Matchbox and Hot Wheels. That was like my other thing I was addicted to besides Star Wars was Matchbox. I had to have them, had to have the case, had to have the track, the crisscross crash track.
Yeah.
I had to get the coolest car. I wanted the one with the certain kind of wheels, you know, in the 80s, remember the Lamborghini Countach came out. Everybody was like, I got to get the Matchbox car for that, you know.
So you got to get these are fun catalogs. You must have had them. But yeah, I'd say if you can find
remember
one.
the Kenner catalog was black and white.
Shows you all the
Oh, yeah. Nice.
come out that year.
Oh, that's that C-3PO case that holds all the figures.
Yep.
I had the Vader one. I still do somewhere.
And there's a lot of like cool things in these that you forget. Oh, there's like just generic stuff.
I had the Vader one, Freddie. Yep. There's the Dukes of Hazzard car. The 70 Charger.
So like primitive, some of this stuff. Those remote controls, they only had like one button.
Right, and you had a string attached to the back of it.
There's that Bigfoot. You must have seen this.
Oh yeah, I remember the truck Bigfoot and Gravedigger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I remember the kid had. There was a kid who had one that had a claw that came out of it. It was weird.
Yeah,
So these,
the claws that came out of the wheels.
Yeah,
The claws that came out of the wheels. Yeah, when they when the going gets tough, they come out and it over anything.
This kid across the street had that one.
Yeah, I forget what that was called. You know, I actually went to the Sussex County Fairgrounds for the New Jersey State Fair one year, and they had a monster truck show, and I was like asking my parents, "Can we stick around till 6 so we can go to that?" And they're like, "Yeah, we'll do that." And we all day, it's like taking forever to get till 6 o'clock. Like I couldn't believe how long this day was. Finally, 6 o'clock came around. We got to see the Monster Truck Challenge or whatever, and it was Bigfoot. Bigfoot was there, the actual Bigfoot truck, and so I saw it in person, and that was so cool. It was a bright blue truck. Yeah, that was awesome.
That's awesome.
My cousin has to this day all the apes.
Maybe some of the games you had. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Rough House.
Scamming.
Yeah, there's Trivial Pursuit up there. I had a Spirograph was really fun too. I remember a Spirograph.
Frogger. Yeah, we had a
games. Yeah, from games. Video games were just going crazy at that point, I guess. Did you have one of these?
I had a big wheel, but not the cool trademark ones.
Yeah, I had one of those when I was like, I don't know, four or five.
I wore out
riding it in the house, and sometimes you couldn't go outside. I could ride it back and forth in the hallway, and that wasn't very fun.
Yeah, I would ride around the basement.
Myself lucky because, I went to not that long ago. I went to the house where my grandparents used to live, and that was where I would ride my big wheel, and it was just a block. But like, dude, I never stopped. Like
hours,
but like it's right through the stop sign.
Back up out of their driveway I'm surprised no one ever hit me,
Yeah,
you can't see this 2 feet tall little guy riding oh god, I remember way too many.
I got to ride my big wheel in the cellar of an apartment building, which was so cool because I could go past the laundry downstairs underneath to the silversmith through this small door, and you go pitch black, so we'd have flashlights and go right straight through in the dark. It was fun, but I wore out the tire, the wheel, one of them, to where it was almost flat, and it would go dun, 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 and then we get a hole in it. I'm like, I need a new one. My dad would be like, go learn to ride a two-wheeler like everybody else.
Is that Castle? No, it's Castle Grayskull.
It's like Grayskull, but it's.
I think it's Black Star.
Oh, I was just talking about that with the guy yesterday. Art from the comic shop, because it's He-Man and Black Star came out the same time, and my buddy had kid had Black Star, and I swear to you, they were way cooler.
There's the D&D guys.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Star.
I never had any of those.
Yeah, I like the He-Man show. The toys were just they never stood up right. They weren't you couldn't play with them. They were annoying. Except though the one that used to have you could squish down and he'd pop up.
He-Man?
Yeah.
Well, it did have that cool swivel punch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was supposed to be like a punching thing, and you're like, all right. I mean, it was much cooler to use your imagination with your little arm going up and down.
Wow, there's no Transformers in this. This is 83. Yeah, it must be.
Well, there were no Transformers in 83.
The next year is when they came out.
I think 84, 85 was.
Yeah, GoBots could be in there.
And this is how I knew the movies watches through these things. You know, the tapes.
Oh yeah, the tapes. We had I had the records in the back of them. Like
You-
this.
I had all those. I had those
I had the
Star Wars
40
records.
I had the records, and every time R2 would beep, you'd have to turn the page.
Yeah.
I had those records for the Star Wars ones.
There's a guy who showed at the shop with the whole run from Wizard of Oz all the way through to like Star Wars to all the Disney ones. They were pretty popular, and like the Snow White and that shit. But they were all the like records. Well, I guess you'd call them vinyl, but they were plastic more than likely.
Atari 5200.
Oh, it's upscale.
$170 back then. Damn.
Man, that's a deal.
It's a lot of money.
Did it come with Choplifter or Michelin Command?
I don't know. This was right around the boom of the like,
Well, it's the end of it because ET came. It's the end because ET comes right after that and ruins everything.
there's seriously like you could buy like 10 different types of consoles here. ColecoVision, there's
I had
like 4
ColecoVision.
different Ataris, there's Intellivision 1, 2, and 3, Vectrex. No wonder parents got sick of it because it was like,
Yeah.
which one do I get? I don't know.
Yeah, my sister bought us a ColecoVision because
ColecoVision Atom,
Adam was a computer, was the keyboard.
Texas Instruments. Yeah, too many.
Yeah, Adam was after. We had the ColecoVision so we got that in 1983 with Donkey Kong, Smurfs, and Zaxxon were the games. And that was all good stuff.
Wow. This speakerphone was as much as an Atari.
The phones, yeah. Touch tone, yeah.
It was like,
Comic book 1962. I had sealed, and I sold it about 8 years ago. The Fantastic Four 1 Golden Record reprint.
oh,
With
nice.
the book in it sealed, and I found it with the guy. And you're right, he wanted $50 for it, and I'm like, I bought it for like $50. He goes, it's not the real comic. I'm like, yeah, no, I have the real comic. And I sold it to a guy for like $400. I heard those things go for a fortune now.
Back when stereos looked like a man's stereo.
That's that. I was playing one today at the
We
shop.
had these really crappy.
I fixed one today for a guy. He had problems. I'm like, and I had him hooked it up. That's what I did today from 12 to about 2 o'clock at the record shop. He's like, can you fix the stereo? Because that's what exactly I still work on record players. I mean, all the way back to like a 1919 Brunswick I can fix. So free controller.
J.C. Penney brand Walkman. I mean, they weren't called Walkmans. They were
No,
called,
only Sony had the rights for the Walkman.
They were called personal surround sound portables.
Nice.
Like $100.
For what?
All right. Now that we're done making ourselves feel very
Older than we are. We're at the 2-hour mark, which is good because I went to the Heritage Auction. They don't have all the pictures up yet. And one of the books, I want to see the picture.
well, you guys did cheer me up, and I appreciate
That counts.
Good,
That's
good.
the main goal for today.
Yeah, there's this coming up.
Oh my God. High grade.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the 1.8. Yeah.
Hey, it's
that.
not bad,
They have a Batman 1 and a 6.5, I think.
Yeah.
They've
6.5. They have a Tech 31 and a 2.5.
2.5. The Suspense 11 and a 9.8. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm sorry for swearing.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, on that one on the back, I'm kind of surprised I got a 9.8. It has dust shadows on 3 of the corners on the back. But yeah, 9.8 for that is insanely high grade. I think that's going to go higher than people think.
Oh yeah, it'll skyrocket. The 9.8 Human Torch 23.
Yeah.
Just the timelies alone that are coming up in here. 9.8, 9.8, 9.6,
Are
9.8.
they Promise Collection again?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
high grade stuff's Promise
it's
Collection. But then
Marvel
there's a
Mystery
Batman 1.
5.
Tech 31's not a promise. The Fantastic 3 is not a promise, obviously, but there's promise books, and then there's a bunch of other cool stuff. It's better than the last one they even did.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah, this is definitely this is so much timely in there. It's crazy.
You guys, I mean, everyone's talked about it already, but do you think the new owners of CGC will really do anything different?
I think it's just money. It's not a big deal.
No, I mean, look, I think when companies that are out there that like to invest, they like to invest in companies that are successful, and they just like to infuse resources. And you know, when you acquire or partner with a company that's successful, a lot of times they don't want to mess with the success. Like they want them to keep doing what they're doing, but they want to infuse a bunch of resources and you know, help them grow quicker and become larger. But I don't feel like they want to mess with what CGC is doing, which for better or for worse, I feel like there are some things that could be improved for sure, but you don't want to completely change around something that's working. Well, the whole point why they bought it is because it's a successful business. I don't think they want to mess with it too much.
Yeah. I think if anything though, you know, they probably made that pulp, you know, hey, if you think doing pulps will make us this percentage next year, then
well, they've got to increase the amount of space they have to work with and the amount of people they have working there and the training. So they need
video games, right? They're doing games now.
Yeah, I know. They need to beef up the resources, like people and space. And I think that will
Maybe
help
build more offices regionally.
Yeah, I think that will
I
help.
know compressors that are doing that right now, and I'll be honest with you, it's a absolute no-brainer. Someone's got to think about doing that. So,
I wish for the comics though, at a certain point they have to break it apart into different divisions. You can't be having the Golden Age all the way up through these modern variants all going through the same grading room. It just doesn't make sense. You have to compartmentalize stuff at a certain point when comic hobby is where it's at. And they're getting hundreds of thousands of books. You have to compartmentalize and divide that. You have to get the inexperienced, newer graders in a division that does mostly moderns, mostly high-grade stuff that doesn't have a lot of weird, wacky defects and condition issues. And then you have to have the more experienced graders in a separate division doing the Golden Age, the Silver Age, maybe the Bronze. You can't just run everything through the same grading room. It's just that's not how you do it. You got to compartmentalize. You got to break things down and sort of divide and conquer your workload. And I hope they do that with comics. It just makes sense. They got to have a separate division that's just handling the moderns, like, you know, 1990 and up. There's just too many books going through the same grading room, essentially. And I just feel like that's backing everything up. And yeah, you want to do signings. Okay, the signings and the moderns can be like one grading area because that stuff's quick, man. There's not a lot of defects on moderns. You can run through them quick. But then the other stuff, you can charge more, but it should be quicker because there's fewer of them and more experienced graders. That's what I would do. I'm not an expert and I don't own CGC, but at a certain point, you can't run all this stuff through the same room anymore. You've got to break it up and compartmentalize it. I mean, you wouldn't do video games and posters and comics all in the same room. That's separate, I would think. So why not divide up the comics at this point? It's a massive amount of books they're getting. I just don't see how they can run them all through the same grading room. It just backs everything up. Because you have graders that are looking at this. It's the same books when you have all these moderns coming in, all these signatures, all these in-house signings. It's backing up that one grading room is what's happening.
Yeah.
It's backing everybody up. You got to break those off, man, into different sections.
I agree.
Yeah, so hopefully they'll do something like that. I mean, the organization, you can generate increase efficiency just through organization without even changing resources. If you just reorganize things, you can create efficiency, and that's what I think they're lacking. So hopefully that will change.
That's a good point.
And working on the weekends.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a bank. I mean, they have weekends, you know what I mean? It's a grading house. They can work on the weekends. It's like, you know, there are some places that work Monday through Friday.
It's not like they're paying some of these graders like, you know, like, oh, if we make them work on the weekend, they're gonna go be a doctor or something. Like, they'll
You can have people working Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
exactly.
You can have guys working Monday through Friday. You can have some of the graders working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, you can still have a 40-hour week, but
Yep.
just doing it all, 7 days a week. It's not, look, banks, post office, doctor's offices, yeah, Monday through Friday. I work in a restaurant, okay? There is no Monday through Friday. It's just every day.
Those are your big days.
Yeah, I mean, we're not dependent on a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 type schedule. It's just we're open all the time, and the people that work there, and I do the scheduling. You work 5 days, and sometimes some people get Monday and Tuesday off. Some people get Saturday and Sunday off. Some people get Thursday, Friday. But we're open every day, and I feel like CGC could be the same way. I don't see why they have to be tethered to this Monday through Friday 9 to 5 schedule, especially with the workload they have. They've got to increase that.
It's a great point. I agree with you.
And a lot of that stuff is not like, well, maybe they do it already, I would hope. But like, maybe the graders are there in the week, but all the packers and all the other stuff could be done on the weekend. I don't know.
I mean, they probably do have some people working doing something during the weekend.
I hope so. Jesus.
Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, when they've got a note on their site that says now opening packages that arrived a month and a half ago. Okay, look, that would be number one. You just got to hire people to open packages and log stuff in. And that is very easy to train because you're basically training people how to identify books, how to handle books, and how to file the books safely. That doesn't require grading knowledge or knowledge of comic books, really. It's just how to be careful and be organized and just open packages. You could hire, that would be my first thing, hiring enough people there. I wouldn't even worry about the graders yet. You got to get caught up on the packages coming in first.
I think
Then you
regional.
got to break your grading up into different sections. You can hire new people, have a modern section, and have them just do the moderns. And
We haven't even hit hurricane season yet.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. And if you're watching this years from now, this was a problem way before COVID.
yeah.
I always thought they should have had like regional. One of the things, I like when someone says it goes, I like diversifying, shipping my stuff sometimes to Texas, sometimes over to Florida, to Sarasota. But I think if you have one, put one in the Midwest, put one in the Northwest, put it in the Northeast, screw the Southwest, but yeah.
Well, and I think that would make more sense if it was like the golden age is Washington, D.C. or what, they're that way. It's not like, well, I always send my moderns to the Florida one, because they're better graders, whatever. Like, but if it was like,
That's what I'm saying.
Silver Age is here. And then
The
all
more
the same
experienced graders would be, graduated up with an increase in salary and raises, and they have more experience, and they'd be handling the older books, the golden age, the silver age type stuff. And maybe their office would be in Boston, and that's where that stuff goes. And then, the newer graders in Florida, they come in, you're training them, you're doing moderns, in-house signings, and you're getting some training and supervising them. There's not much to mess up between 9.2 to 9.8. You should be able to train pretty quickly on that. And you'll learn grading over a year or two. And then you can move to a different division. And maybe in Boston is the golden and silver age. And maybe in Florida is the moderns and the in-house signings. And then you can maybe just have another one on the West Coast. And so I think this purchase of CGC hopefully provides them the resources to expand like that and come up with an organization that's more efficient and ultimately will make everything much quicker and a better working process. Because right now, everything is getting sent down to Sarasota, and it's taking them a month and a half to even open the boxes. So that's not, you got to do something about that. That's just ridiculous.
And everybody's hitting on the modern submissions. And then there's a lot of books that are just getting submitted for the sake of being submitted. And I don't mean the older stuff. I mean, the modern variants, the stuff. Now you order before the book comes out.
Yeah,
You're ordering a 9.8.
yeah, right.
So
That's so weird.
what comes out next Tuesday, you're going to get it in about a year from now in a slab.
What?
I mean, that's
Where do you order that from? The comic shop?
anywhere. I mean, everybody's doing it, man.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
You're
that.
not even reading the book. You're just
People want that stuff in 9.8. That's fine, but look, neither one is better than the other. But clearly, experienced graders who are grading valuable, rare Golden Age stuff and Silver Age stuff, they don't need to be around the flood of modern stuff coming in. That's people are chasing 9.8s. Those are two totally different groups of books.
Right.
They should not be going through the same room. The packages don't need to be sent to the same place. Those need to be broken apart, man. And it's not because one is better than the other. They're just totally different groups. And you get them all funneled into Sarasota, and they have a warehouse full of boxes they haven't opened yet. And that's not a way to do it, man. So hopefully this will help them get the resources to.
Yeah, I think.
boost.
Yeah, but the capital injection, when a private equity group sells a large portion of private equity to a company, to a group, the most important thing that everybody wants to do is don't mess with the brand. I say mess with the brand always, because the new company that's taken over, that bought the majority shareholders in the stake in the company, are going to realize that they can probably make more money the farthest if they have more places, more experienced people, faster turnaround times. Because honestly, they're saying, we're going to be grading pulps now. I don't want to wait.
Yeah, but I mean, who's going to be grading the pulps?
That's the
They're going to
thing.
go through the same room as the comics.
Right. They don't belong in the same area. They don't. It's apples and suspension bridges. It's not even apples and oranges. So.
Yeah, and maybe you have the more experienced graders doing pulps and maybe Golden Age comics, because Golden Age books legit have a lot of different condition
You gotta
issues.
look at
all unique things.
Restoration, staples, inside, centerfolds. If you're really thinking, you have to look at restoration for a book that's 2015, first appearance of air conditioning in a comic or whatever, it's just out of control because somebody said, I agree with this 100%, because I even talked to somebody recently. I'm like, I've got a nice stock of moderns that I like the covers of, that I just want to preserve them in those slabs. I don't even care if I get the 9.8s. They'll get 9.8s because they're brand freaking new. But why this should not take till 2022 to get back these books? And then I'm thinking about the standard tier, and I'm looking at the standard tier. I'm looking at that where there are some people that are paying.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I've got this
walkthrough
list.
A month.
These are waiting. I'm not sending these in anywhere. I might send a few to CBCS. They're a little quicker right now, but I'm going to wait and see if there's on-site grading at a con, maybe Baltimore or something early next year. And I'm going to take these and just get them graded over the weekend. I'm not sending these to CGC to sit in the box for a month and a half before they open it and then wait 6 months for grading. I'll just hold on to them. And, I like CGC, but it's just too much time. I'll just wait for on-site or something. I don't want my boxes sitting there for 6 or 7 months.
And I'm not one of those guys that's going to call every day, what's my status, what's my status.
Yeah,
I rather read everybody else's status. When I go to the boards, I see what people have put out there, and I'm like, these guys are getting pissed.
And I don't want waiting. Look, people were complaining when it was 3-month turnaround.
Right. People
days. I'm cool with 90 days
turnaround time. I remember.
If I get 90-day turnaround time and everything, I'm cool with it. Like 3 months is fine for me. I'm not.
Right.
But it's up against six months now, and it's another month before they open the pack. You're looking at 7 months. That starts to be a bit much for me. I'm not going to send anything in right now.
It's so weird because a lot of people, a lot of buyers are very quick, and they work on their emotions, and it's like, if you have to think of something like 3 months out, forget it,
Yeah.
So
I'll just wait for an on-site. I'll bring all these to an on-site. I'll pay more, and I'll get them back on Sunday, and I'll do that. So I don't know if they're having an on-site at Baltimore or maybe Heroes Con next year or something. But I'm not in a hurry. I have plenty of other stuff.
Exactly
to do.
what I.
did you pay walkthrough?
I'm not a big grader
Can
anyway.
you pay walkthrough? Press?
Yeah, but I mean, the minimum fee for a walkthrough is $150 a book. And
When
I don't,
on site
I'm
grade,
not
you can get it for like
paying
1/3.
a walkthrough for that.
Yeah.
I've got some books here I could send in that are like, this one's pretty high grade. This is in the 9s, but I really don't want to pay $150 to get this graded. I mean, it's probably a $1,200 book, yeah, but $150 eats into that $1,200 pretty good. That's 10% off the top just on the grading.
And then you got to ship it, $14 for that, and then
I'll just wait. I can
I like
time,
on-site
I
grading.
can time my selling for grading. If I can get like to an on-site, I can have it back Sunday, and then I can do something with it. But otherwise, I'll just hold on to it for now. It has value. I'm not gonna send this somewhere to let it sit for 7 months.
Nice.
Well, I gotta go.
Yep. We'll close this down right now.
This is great show. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the chat. Everyone in the chat hanging out.
We have one announcement. One of our upcoming shows coming up. We're going to be previewing the auction that starts August 20th, and another show coming up is part 3 of our favorite covers by publisher.
Awesome.
Doing that, so we have to pick our publishers and go with it from there, like we did the last couple of times. Check out those old shows if you want, and
some of our old standby guys got to come back at some point. Jeez, like where's Guru? Where's
yeah, well, we've got to get the guest groups back together again. We got to start bringing in. Well,
yeah, I mean, we haven't had Anthony in a while, or Jeff, or even Lewis, really.
Yeah, Lewis is. We're gonna get him back too. Get him on there.
Well, I'll be here, so.
Yep, and I'll be here, and he'll be here.
Are you gonna be on Thursday night? Are you doing a show?
Yeah, Thursday night on Tales from the Flip Side at 9 p.m. I don't know who the guest is going to be yet, but yeah, Old School Comics. That's always a good show.
Yep.
Cool.
So everybody, thanks again for joining us, and thank you all for being a friend. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant.